current era comic books, big two, the propaganda pieces of the authoritarian left specifically. There's no balance anymore, right? It was a lot more balance growing up, definitely with Marvel. I'm not saying that. I've never been one of those guys that say, well, it's been like completely apolitical, because that wouldn't be true. The reason why it felt that way is because you kind of got positions of different. First of all, it wasn't beating their audience over the head with, but when they did enter that sort of space, it was more balanced. So you got viewpoints of people that were of different sides of things. Whereas so now it's just, hey, authoritarian left is the only acceptable idea, and every single comic book character that exists right now is going to promote that. Everybody's favorite tokenized hero also has been used as yet another platform in order to promote the use of a specific term that, to most people, certainly of Latin America, they consider this a fucking nonsensical term. Just look at it. Again, everybody's favorite tokenized character, dog shit character, Black Peter Parker and Jordan 1s and a bald fade. It ain't even a bald fade. It's more like a taper fade. That, that character is, you're using him in this regards. And they're celebrating Latin and Latinx, not Latinos and Latinas. No. It's Latin and Latinx, or Latinx. I don't know actually how you say it. I didn't know. I think it's Latinx. Is it Latinx or Latinx? I don't fucking know. Either way, as you can see, they have gathered, and Miles Morales is one of those characters because he's this like half Black African American and half kind of Puerto Rican. He floats, right? So it depends on who's utilizing him, and they'll kind of promote that specific aspect of him. Like, oh, look at him, blackity black, and now it's I'm Puerto Rican. So Latinx is obviously on the cover of the Voices of the Comunidades. And as you can see in the actual book, which it's probably dog shit, you can see as like right now. Hey, Anya, what does that mean? Latinx or Latinx? I've heard the term thrown around lately, but I've never had the opportunity to really ask about it. So they want to specifically address, hey, nobody calls themselves this shit, but it seems white leftists. So we're going to go ahead and explain this for you. White leftists and I guess people that are maybe of that community that generally have, I don't know, blue hair and septum rings. Anyway, and as they say, Latinx is just a more inclusive. They love that term, don't they? Inclusive way to refer to people rather than Latino or Latina, responds Spider Girl. It's just tokenism. It ain't square. We're tokenism cubed to the fourth. Prompting Rio to push back. Inclusive, huh? What's wrong with Latina or Latina? So this is self-insert. This is basically, okay, I don't like, this is what the writers are doing here. I don't like when people either make fun of this, mock this term, or have issue with it. So I'm going to directly and right on the nose address this in this fucking book. Okay? And this is what they say. Well, the thing about Latinx is that it's all-encompassing. It's an all-encompassing term. For people like us who identify as female, but for those who are gender non-conforming or identify as non-binary or gender, this is in their comic books. This is dialogue in the comics, bro. What I'm reading is not some shit I'm making up. I know it sounds goofy as fuck, but that's dialogue directly in the comic as our bros over at Bowding in the Comics is covering. That's dialogue in the comic book. Or gender fluid or forced gendering of Latino and Latina can be really tricky to deal with. And as you see, they're having the conversation as they sit there and ponder. Look at this. She says, well, weren't those working just fine until now? Like, this is basically, the writers, specifically and directly, wanting to address that talking point and use comic book characters. Some of you guys may recognize, nobody's buying this shit, but use comic book characters as this sort of platform in order to put it out. Nobody talks like this, by the way. So they can't even, they're trying to put out this sort of, hey, look at me, social preferences out there. And they can't even have these guys talking like regular people. Right? But this is, guys, this is what you're dealing with. You have to understand what you're fighting against and why guys like myself are so enthusiastic about the future work, because they're making it fucking easy for us. But more importantly, you have to understand it's still a spot, and I think it's still a space for us to call, mock, and shame these crackhead ass motherfuckers for taking characters that you guys like. Again, these characters are dog shit as far as I'm concerned. So all they do are running characters that already suck into the ground. But you get it. It has the Marvel branding. It has the Spider-Man branding. So they get to do that, and people get eyes on it and stuff. Again, this isn't going to equal more comic book sales. All comic books right now are in the mainstream big two are stepping stones for people that have political and social aspirations. That's it. Okay? And they use the comic books in order to put that out. And this is why dialogue comes off as on the nose and forced as it does here. These are incapable writers. They're not good. They suck at their fucking jobs. Yeah, they get promoted in Marvel and DC. Kelly Sue DeConnick continues to get work somehow. But that's why that is the case, is because they're all in on it, right? They're all in on it. They're corrupt, and there's nothing you can do about this. And they're going to continue to employ these people who, again, other than Marvel, really nobody would employ these fuckers long term. No. Definitely when they put out books that are in the red. But it's just so important to understand that, because then you can tap into the psyche of the guys like myself who are really passionate about this stuff and really want to create and combat these guys. I have no desire to work. Like, you couldn't pay me enough money to write for Marvel and DC right now at this stage of my life. No, absolutely not. Maybe you asked me that 10 years ago, we consider it, but now, absolutely not. I have no desire to work for these crackhead ass motherfuckers. I would more likely and be more inclined, as much as I hate to see characters that I grew up in and characters that I know and loved get ran into the ground. I don't like to see that. However, at this point, they control it. You have to accept the reality. How it got there, it got there. And I've talked about that extensively, that this was something that should not have happened, but it happened nonetheless, and we're at where we're at. So right now, I think the best course of action is to compete with these guys. Compete with them, create alternatives that are good, and say to hell with them. I think that's the best way we could do this, because, again, they're just nothing but propaganda pieces of the authoritarian left specifically. You just watched a clip from my podcast, For Canon's Sake. Catch us live at 12 p.m. throughout the week over at youtube.com/YoungRipper59 and follow us over at odyssey.com/@YoungRipper59. If you want to watch the entire video cast after the show is over, just be sure to become a member on the YouTube channel. Of course, the full audio portion of the podcast is available for free on all major digital platforms, or just visit forcanonsake.com.